Hey, grace and peace, everyone. This is Charles here with another Midweek Recharge. And this week, I want to talk about forgiveness. Not super complicated. Sometimes you got to kind of return to the basics, right? And so I was reflecting on this exchange that Jesus has with a group of religious leaders that essentially try to entrap him by bringing a woman who was apparently caught in the act of adultery before him for his judgment and what they were anticipating his condemnation. What's interesting is there's this scene where Jesus is outside the temple and he's teaching a group of people. He's teaching a crowd, and the religious leaders, the Pharisees, and their scribes, this collection of men bring this woman before Jesus and kind of sort of throw her in front of him, throw her at his feet, and accuse her of this crime. They quote or misquote, intentionally so, I believe, misquote the law of Moses. When they bring the woman, they say that she was caught in the very act of adultery, and Moses commanded us to stone such women. You see that in John chapter 8. And Jesus doesn't immediately respond to them. John records Jesus is kind of writing in the ground, surrounded by the crowd that he's teaching, and now these accusers. And they go on, they continue, and so eventually Jesus stands upright and says one of the most famous quotes that we have from Jesus. Let those among you who have not sinned throw the first stone. And eventually all the accusers leave. It's worth pointing out, it's worth noting that the law of Moses actually says any man who commits adultery with his neighbor's wife, the man, the adulterer, and the adulteress should be stoned. You see that in Leviticus. And so even though Jesus knows that they're misquoting the law, he doesn't focus on that, because the point that Jesus wants to drive home, the point for you and I, is the mercy that God shows. And so my challenge to you this week is to show that kind of radical mercy. That there's a really good chance this woman was guilty, even if she wasn't necessarily guilty of the crime that she was being accused of. She was guilty of something. And Jesus showed mercy, as you and I should show mercy, because God has been so merciful to you and I. How can we be any less merciful to others? As Jesus told Peter, forgive as many times as someone needs to be forgiven, because that's how often God forgives us. Let that be your recharge.